Today we're comparing the HOKA Speedgoat 7 with the Saucony Peregrine 16, two very popular trail running shoes that have seen big changes from their predecessors. So let's look at the Speedgoat 7 first. It has 37 mils of cushioning in the rear foot, 32 in the forefoot, giving you a 5 mil drop. So that's a lot more cushioning than what we see in the Peregrine, which has 33 mils in the rear foot and 29 in the forefoot, giving you a 4 mil drop. However, it comes in at 282 grams versus 272 grams in a size 9 men's US. Now the weight caused a lot of problems for people who love the Peregrine because it's a lot heavier than what we saw in the Peregrine 15. But there are reasons for that. First of all, if we look underneath the shoe, well, we've got a Vibram Megagrip for the first time in the Peregrine series, which means that you've got a very sticky grip, very good for wet surfaces, wet rocks, wet gravel, and it's going to give you lots of grip underfoot. It has 4mm lugs, whereas in the Speedgoat 7 it has the same Vibram Megagrip, but it has 5mm lugs, which is just going to give you a bit more traction on those muddy surfaces when you're moving downhill, changing speed on those technical terrains. And as we move up the shoe, we've got more stability features in the Speedgoat 7, so we've large sidewalls on the outside and the inside of the heel. We've got a broad base support on the forefoot, and the cushioning plays a big role in what you feel underfoot, which we'll talk about in a moment. But moving back to the Saucony, we have minimal sidewalls on the outside and the inside of the heel to midfoot. Then we have a very narrow platform underneath the heel and the midfoot compared to what we get in the Speedgoat 7. They're similar in the forefoot, but by having less in the midfoot and the heel, it means you get less contact with the ground, therefore just reducing the stability of the shoe. It is counteracted, however, by the reduced amount of cushioning in the shoe, which gives you a better ground contact feel. So very much a classic neutral shoe in the Saucony, and neutral to neutral stable in the Speedgoat 7. Now the cushioning is the reliable Power Run EVA foam in the Peregrine, and that feels very firm underfoot. It is quite snappy. You don't get that kind of bounce to it that you get in some other shoes, but it is a very reliable midsole. In the Speedgoat, it saw a massive upgrade from the Speedgoat 6, so it now has supercritical EVA foam compared to the CM EVA foam that we saw in the Speedgoat 6. So it is very energetic, very bouncy, and overall just very fun to run in. It's complemented by a very aggressive geometry, partly due to a split heel bevel at the back, and that's really useful because if you're landing on uneven surfaces, it means that you get nice compression whether you land on the outside or the inside. Then we have a very aggressive forefoot rocker, which means you transition very quickly from the front to the back of the shoe. You can see the Saucony is a lot flatter of a shoe, so yes, you have a nice heel bevel at the back, but it's nowhere near as aggressive as the split bevel at the back of the Speedgoat 7, and you get a little bit more contact with the ground with a nice gentle forefoot rocker. So it's a bit steadier underfoot in terms of the geometry, very aggressive geometry in the Speedgoat 7. And as we move up the shoe, well, the Saucony range 14 and 15 historically had a lot of issues with durability, especially in the upper, so we got a completely revamped upper in Saucony, which they feel gives you a remarkably longer durability in this upper. But let me know your experiences in this one so far if you've tested it out over longer distances. Then in terms of the fit, it's a true to size and length, but it is a little bit narrow in the toe box. Not as narrow as what we get in the Speedgoat 7, which is very tapered overall. It has a very breathable mesh upper, as does the Speedgoat 7, and it has a bit more padding around the tongue, whereas the Speedgoat 7 is very thin. They have lengthened it a little bit, which was an issue in the Speedgoat 6, so you're not getting as much pinch at the front of the ankle. Both of them have plenty of padding around the heel counter, a little bit deeper on the Speedgoat 7. So when it comes to performance and use cases, historically the Peregrine 15 was a very lightweight, firm, snappy shoe that was really good for taking out on faster workouts, is now a much more energetic, bouncy and aggressive trail running shoe compared to its predecessor. So interestingly, the Speedgoat 7 is now probably my go-to shoe if you want to do a faster workout. It comes in lighter than the Peregrine, so it's really quick underfoot, really nimble, really energetic and very aggressive. The main downsides with it for me is just the toe box. The Peregrine 16, I really like the ground contact feel that you get with it. It's very snappy, very firm underfoot, so you really know where you're planting your foot. In addition to that, it's also got a plastic plate underneath, which you can see in the holes in the outsole, and that's only in the forefoot. So you are getting elements of protection in there, while you're still maintaining a flexible forefoot. No rock plate in Speedgoat 7, but it's extremely stiff in the forefoot, so the extra rubber in there gives you a lot more protection. Overall, the Peregrine 16 doesn't feel as snappy or responsive as the Speedgoat 7. So I'd use that more for those longer distance technical trails, whereas the Peregrine 16 is designed for slightly shorter distances, as it doesn't pack in as much cushioning underneath your foot to give you that much protection. So shorter, faster workouts, whereas more longer distance, faster workouts in the Speedgoat 7, and can probably handle a bit more technical terrain. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Which would you choose? What type of terrain do you run on, or what sort of distances? Otherwise, the links are in the description below if you want to check out the latest prices on them. And thank you very much for watching once again.